Hi, how are you? Welcome to Bookalina. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for clicking on this video. Thank you for subscribing if you have not already. In today's video, it is my January reading wrap-up. First up is World War Z by Max Brooks. I stayed up very late around New Year's Eve. It was on New Year's Eve and then the day after that I finally finished this book. Yeah, I loved this book. It was just great. Really engaging, great concept, really freaking scary. Really loved it. I loved that the story was told from the perspective of different characters. I saw the movie first. I saw it when it was first released in the theater, and I'm surprised at how different the book is from the movie, even though I think I've heard that before. Yeah, it's totally different. There's so much cool stuff in the book that did not get explored in this movie. I think this would have worked much better as like a miniseries or like a Netflix series, because there was so much ground to cover that there's no way that it could have been all included in just like a 2-hour movie. Next on my list is In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. So what drew me to this book was the title. I loved that title. It's a great title. And although I liked the book, I liked the title better. I don't think the book quite lived up to what I was expecting, at least based on that title. I thought it was going to be a lot darker than it actually was. It's basically a mystery whodunit of a group of college kids. They're friends, they're kind of in this popular group in college, and it involves a lot of like privileged people problems, like pretty people problems, although there is a murder involved, so there's that. I would say the book was good-ish. I would give it like a C+. I do think it was a little over the top. I didn't dislike the way that it ended, but it was just, there were just parts of it that were so like soap opera-ish or like after school special-ish that I don't know. I wished it was darker. I definitely did explore the darker sides of these characters, but I kind of wish that it went further than it did. Next up is Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. So I've read quite a few of her books, and most of them I have enjoyed, but I sometimes find it hard to take the names of these characters seriously. I mean, they're creative. So this book involves these twin daughters named Honor and Merit, and they seemingly have the hots for the same guy whose name is Sagan. It's every book that I read by her, like I get to the characters' names and I'm just like I need a minute, you know? The book that I'm reading right now is a Colleen Hoover book, and the male character's name is Ryle Kincaid. So yeah, anyway, so Without Merit, it centers around this very dysfunctional family, the Voss family, and I did like it. It was enjoyable. I'm not sure how realistic the story was as a whole, but I enjoyed reading it. Next up is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. My apologies if I did not pronounce that correctly. I already posted a little review of this book. I will link it below. It's about a woman in Japan who loves her job. She just works at a convenience store, and she meets this guy who comes to work. He's new to the job, and he basically spends all of the book criticizing her and calling her names and mocking her because she doesn't really aspire to anything else in life besides working at this convenience store. Most of the characters in this book were pretty unpleasant. I did like the main character, and the story itself was simple. It's a very readable book. It's very easily digestible, but it's a very short book. I think it's like 130-ish pages. But by the time I reached the end, I didn't feel satisfied. It was like like a meal that something was missing from, and you're not like completely satiated. Next up is another shorter book. This is another Colleen Hoover book called Verity. So most of her books are geared more towards the young adult audience, but this book is much more adult. So I'm reading this book and I really liked it. I was really enjoying it, and I got to a certain point when something happened that was totally shocking and completely took me by surprise. And I felt sick. Like I literally felt like I was gonna puke. Yeah, parts of this book are extremely intense. I really don't know if someone, I feel like this book is going to be pretty polarizing. I feel like most people are either going to really love it or they're going to really hate it. And I completely understand both points of view. I myself really liked it. Again, I'm not quite sure how realistic this story was. I feel like there were quite a few like plot holes, and like, maybe not plot holes, maybe that's not the right word. Like a lot of WTFs, like how is this even possible? But the story moved along nicely. The characters were, I would say, intriguing. And I personally liked the way it ended. I have read a few snippets here and there of reviews, and there's been some people who really hated the ending, but I didn't have a problem with it at all. I feel like it was ambiguous, but at the same time kind of allows you to make your own interpretation. And I did. And the interpretation that I came to, the conclusion that I personally came to at the end of this book just worked. It worked for me. Let me know in the comments below if you've read it. I would really like to hear other people's opinions of this book, Verity. Next, I read When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's about a surgeon who, at, I believe, the age of 36, gets a very aggressive form of cancer. As memoirs go, I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I thought it was beautifully written. It was very moving. It was very meaningful. Yeah, I've nothing bad to say about it. Next up is a book I DNF'd. This is A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. She is the author of, I think it's The Girl on the Train, which I did read and I did like. I know a lot of people didn't like that book, but I liked it. I had to put this book down. I don't know. It just didn't hook me. I didn't like the characters. I was just like, I don't know, I was just bored right away. I just didn't care. I didn't care what happened. It starts off with a murder of a guy, and I didn't care about the guy, and I didn't care about the suspects, and I didn't care about the detectives trying to find out what happened. I just didn't care. Next, I read The Whisper Man by Alex North. So I will link the video below. I did another little bite-sized review of this book after I finished it, because after I finished it, I was like, holy shit, like, wow. Yeah, this book was great. It was poignant, it was scary, it was well written, even though I think in a lot of ways it was a bit cliche. You have the creepy kid with the drawings. I mean, do I even have to go any further than that? I've seen it so many times in movies with the creepy kid with the scary drawings. But I really liked it. Even I could see past the cliches. I could work past them and really see the story for what it was. And I loved it. It really was genuinely scary. Last up on my list is The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. I really liked it. It was a good mystery. The characters are really great. The book jumps around from the different perspectives of the different characters. It's about a teenage girl and her boyfriend who go missing. They just vanish after a party at a friend's house in England. And so the girl's mother is, of course, frantically trying to find out what happened to her. I thought it was a very good depiction of teenage love, teenage drama, and there's a character in the book who is a very manipulative, narcissistic person, and that too was very relatable. I really like the characters that Lisa Jewell creates. They are flawed, but always very interesting. They are always very relatable. I never feel like I read any of the descriptions of her characters and think I've literally never met anyone who would do this. I've never met anyone who would say this. So even though I feel sometimes that her storylines get a little repetitive, she does a really great job with the characters and with the character development. I think that that's really what keeps me reading more than anything. So that is it. That is my January wrap up. That's 8 books that I read in January. That's not too shabby. I'm pretty proud. So anyway, I will see you guys very soon. Thanks for watching, and yeah, have a great rest of your weekend. Take care.